how satisfying is it when someone comes over, Conor Callaghan or a Kieran Kilkenny or someone, and they're able to speak the Cúpla Focal and they're glad to. And also, as an aside to that, is there any element of frustration that you're obviously broadcasting as Gaeilge, but the vast majority are looking at it and they're maybe only understanding most of what you're only understanding a little piece of what you're saying, and they want to hear you speaking as Béarla? Like, is any part of that frustrating? I suppose that's a two-pronged question.
Yeah, look, to the first point, I mean, it is absolutely crucial for us that we have buy-in from the players. And if players are willing to speak Irish, and it's just brilliant for us to have players of the stature of the players that you mentioned who went to Gael Scullina and Gael Colashti afterwards, and who speak the language as naturally as any of us. And if anybody has, we would always ask a player, like when we're lining them up for a man the match or whatever, we'd say, have you got Irish? Just to give them the chance. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, or sometimes they do and they're just not that comfortable doing it. So we roll with that. We have done interviews as well bilingually, where somebody might just say something that they would like to say at the start, and then we get into the kind of teeth of it in English. And we think that that's kind of part of the identity thing, because people, like, it's all culture. So our games, our language, music and everything else, all part of the same melting pot. So to have, like, if we had our choice, we would do all of our broadcasts in Irish, like every interview, everything. But, people still want to hear what the county manager or whoever has to say, and whether that's in English or Irish, I don't think is the key issue there. Everything else is done in Irish insofar as we can. To the second point about the response, I mean, one of the really gratifying things that I have is that people come up to us at matches and say, oh, only for you doing it, my elderly relative at home who can never get out, but that this is what he does on his Sunday afternoon, or she does on their Sunday afternoon, and they live for this time of the week. And it doesn't matter to them whether they have Irish or English. I mean, we do get things of people saying, I turn on local radio. We get less and less of that, because if you remember, like back when we started broadcasting, we used to get awful, there was a lot of very strong arguments of people saying this thing shouldn't be on an Irish language station. These matches are too big. Gradually, that momentum has shifted, and now people accept that it is part of the landscape. The vocabulary isn't complicated. You're following the same kind of basic structure in terms of, terminology that Brian and McDara and the other commentators would be using. I think there's an acceptance there that we're now 30 years in on the thing, and that if we weren't broadcasting these matches, they probably wouldn't be there for people to watch in large degree. And the standard is pretty good. So, we get, like, I honestly could, over the last 10 years or so, I could count on the fingers of one hand the amount of people who come up complaining. A bit more maybe social media from the odd time, but you get that. But most people are really happy to have the matches broadcast, and I think they see that the Irish language is a good fit for the matches that are part of our culture,